The midgame is one of the most important stages of the game, and how you approach the midgame depends a lot on how your early game went. We'll discuss how to know which comp to go for, how value comps play the midgame, how to stabilize on 3-2, how to do a level 7 all-in, how reroll comps play the midgame, how to build a board around a carry, as well as scouting for a better board and better itemization. After Krugs, you will have a set of items that should give you a certain idea what your final comp should look like. We call this direction towards a comp, meaning that if the game is giving you units and items for a specific comp, you're getting direction for that comp and you should probably go for it. For example, if you have primarily AD item components, you want to play carries that can use AD item components well. Those are comps like Yone, Urgot, and Jhin. Which one of these four you pick depends on your units, and since Jhin uses bodyguards as his frontline, it's preferred to have Poppy and Darius in our frontline at Krugs. And those can be used until we hit Braum and Leona later, or we can even go for 4 bodyguards with them. On the other hand, if you have Bruiser frontline, Urgot is preferred as he uses a Bruiser frontline late game. I also want to add that the current meta will also impact which comp you go for. Some comps are stronger than others, due to the balance changes on any given patch. And at the time of making this video, Jhin is the strongest out of the 3 comps I mentioned, and Urgot is struggling in the current patch. So as of right now on patch 11.23, I would still try to go for Jhin even if I have Bruisers at Krugs. If you have a lot of AP items, then you should go for comps like Arcanists with either Lux, Victor, or Malzahar carry, or Innovators with Seraphine or Heimerdinger carry. For Arcanists, you can have Vex 3-star, Bodyguards, or Bruisers as your frontline depending on which carry you pick. With Innovators, you want to have many of the Innovator units upgraded as the summoned unit becomes stronger based on how many Innovator units you have 2-starred. The current meta also affects your choice, so right now Vex 3-star is insanely broken, and Innovator 7 is insanely strong, so I will always go for those two if I have the right items and augments for them. If you get a lot of defensive items like chain vests, cloaks, and belts, then it will be hard to figure out what the best late game comp is. The only units that can carry with defensive items are Dr. Mundo, Swain 3-star, and Vex 3-star. Defensive items are good though, as you can be a lot more flexible with which comps you can go for, as you don't have direction yet. This is a double-edged sword though, as you have to find that direction later, and it's harder to play optimally when you don't have direction for a comp right now. In general, it's more important to look at your items than your units when figuring out what to play. You cannot pick most of your items, but you can pick which units you get with enough gold. Value comps are the most common type of team composition in TFT. They win the game by pushing to a high level as fast as possible, and from there, they will roll for 2-star 3 costs, 4 costs, and 5 cost units. In other words, they win the game by getting many high value units on the board with multiple synergies. Value comps come in 2 types. The first is 4 cost carry comps like Sniper Jhin, Challenger Yone, and Chemtech Urgot to name a few. The second is mixed cost carry comps. These are comps such as Innovators that run both Heimerdinger, Seraphine, and Jace as the carry, or comps like Mutant that run both Malzahar and Kai'Sa as the carry. 4-cost carry comps power spike hard at level 8 since you have great odds for hitting 4-cost units there. The goal is to 2-star your main carry and the rest of your board, and getting to level 8 can be hard to do consistently, especially since you won't find your main carry until much later. In addition, if you're getting low on HP during the mid-game, we have to stop the bleeding. And one way of doing that is to stabilize and roll at level 6 on stage 3-2. You will do this when you low rolled your early game and you want to start winning, and in order to stabilize in that situation, we need to be hitting 2 stars and or hit a unit that can carry your items well until level 8. Before rolling at level 6, you need what's called an ILP, which stands for Intention, Limit, and Potential Pivots. I already talked about this extensively in my economy guide, so that will be linked down in the description. I will cover some examples of how we can stabilize at level 6. Say you're running Ezreal as the item carrier with IE and Hurricane, and you're low on HP. At this point, we want to be upgrading our bodyguards, or potentially hit 4 bodyguards. We want to get a better item carrier than Ezreal, and we probably want to get out of Yordles as well. This board can look like this once you have transitioned. Here you can also take out Imperials to play Poppy plus Darius for 4 bodyguards. From here you can easily pivot into Jhin and Yone, as they use some of the units used in this mid-game comp, and also use the items well. Here is a very similar board, but here we have AP items. We want to find an AP item holder for these items, and get a better frontline as well. Here is how it can end up. If we hit Vex, we have a solid frontline as she is very tanky. In addition, we add in a tanky Arcanist with Swain, and Taric is a great sustaining unit for Vex. Malzahar is a great holder of AP items, and he's the best AP item carrier in the mid-game in general. From there, you either go Malzar 3-star or you go for Lux carry in most cases. Another way to stabilize is the level 7 all-in on stage 3-5. This is mostly done when you have been on lose streaking for the entire game. It is done by leveling to 7 and then you roll until you're stable, which often leads you to roll close to 0 gold. And you're generally looking to stabilize off of a 1-star 4-cost or a 2-star 3-cost carry here. Since we're rolling at level 7, we have decent odds for 4-cost units, so we can also get some late game units in like Braum, Janna, and Orianna to complement our comp. The level 7 all-in is very hard to execute as you're usually doing a full transition into a completely new board, and you will have to build a board around the carry you hit while also being flexible with the units you pick up. Although the strategy is similar to rolling on stage 3-2 here, the challenge here is that you are low on time and you're replacing more of your board. In addition, you will be low on HP since you have been lost streaking, which adds another layer of stress. As you might be able to tell, this is one of the more difficult strategies in the game, but it's a crucial skill to be able to pull off if you want to climb. To give an example of this, here I have the Ezreal carry board again, and I have been on an 8 losing streak with this board. As soon as I hit level 7, I'm looking to replace Ezreal, replace the Innovators, and replace Camille as well. I might keep the bodyguards depending on what carry I find, and after the roll down, your board might end up like this. Here we're running Jhin carry, and we kept Poppy and Darius for 4 bodyguard. From here we have direction, and we will play Jhin for the rest of the game most of the time. Reroll comps win the game by getting 3-star units. This is either 1-cost, 2-cost, or 3-cost 3-star units. Therefore, we have to approach the mid-game differently when playing reroll. We have 2 main ways of obtaining 3-star units. The first way is hyperrolling. This strategy is mostly used for 1-cost reroll, but in a few cases it can be used for 2-cost and 3-cost reroll as well. Hyperroll is usually done by rolling down right after Krugs while you are still at level 4. This way we have a really high chance for 1-cost units. This is done when you're playing for a 1-cost reroll board like Protectors or reroll Yordles. How much gold you roll through depends on the specific comp you're playing, as well as how many copies you need before you hit the 3-star. Sometimes you roll until you hit your desired 3 stars, and sometimes you roll down to a certain gold amount, which is 35 gold in a lot of cases. And sometimes you roll to hit all your 1-cost 2 stars in order to not take too much damage during the mid-game. The dangerous part about hyper-rolling is that you might end up rolling too much without hitting, and from there it's very hard to pivot out of it, and you will most likely bleed out and go 8th. 2-cost and 3-cost reroll comps will usually only hyperroll to stabilize at level 6 on 3-2, and in that case they're looking to stabilize with the level 6 version of their respective comps. Or they will hyperroll once they are really close to getting their 3 stars and they are getting low on HP later in the game. The second strategy used by reroll comps to get 3-star units is slow rolling. This is the primary strategy for both 1, 2, and 3-cost reroll comps. Slow rolling means that you're rolling the excess gold you have above 50 gold. The reason we slow roll is to see as many shops as possible while also gaining as much gold as possible every turn through interest. For 1-cost reroll, you will slow roll at level 5, for 2-cost reroll, you will slow roll at level 6, and for 3-cost reroll, you will either slow roll at level 7 or 8, but the majority of the time you will slow roll at level 7. Once you hit the 3 stars, you will level up and add in more units. What you add in will depend on the comp you're playing. Also note that some reroll comps can mix the hyperroll strategy with the slow roll strategy, and some reroll comps might slow roll at 2 different levels depending on the comp. If this playstyle sounds fun to you, I recommend you try out Reroll Trundle or Reroll Yordles. I made videos on both of those and they will be linked down in the description. Lastly, let's talk about the importance of scouting and how it impacts what items and units we will end up with in every single game. Every comp has core units, and the remaining 3 to 5 units of the level 8 version are what we call flexible spots. This means that we can add in almost any 3 to 5 units to complement our core units. For example, in the Jhin comp, the core units are Jhin, Orianna, Janna, Braum, and a sniper unit. The remaining 3 depend on what we need to counter the lobby. In order to find that out, we need to scout during the mid-game. Around stage 3-5 to Wolves, almost everyone knows what comp they're playing. If not, they have clear direction towards 2 or 3 comps with a similar damage output. Here we can see that, for example, if the lobby is mostly AD, we want to play 4 bodyguards. We can see this by looking at what items and boards people currently have. If someone has made Deathblade and Hurricane, they are 99% of the time going to be playing an AD carry based comp. Similarly, if they have made Deathcap and Jewel Gauntlet, we can tell they're playing an AP carry based comp. These are the 2 most important things to look for in the mid game, whether you need more anti-AD in your frontline or anti-AP. There are more things that we can look for though. If many people have built healing items like Hodge, BT, and Gunblade, We should make Morello to apply grievous wounds to their carry. This way we're reducing the effectiveness of the enemy carry and gaining a huge advantage whenever we are fighting them. If people have built crit items like IE and Jewel Gauntlet, or if there are assassin players in the lobby, Bramble Vest negates all critical strike damage. This hard counters assassins, and it will soft counter carries with crit items. There are a ton more ways we can adapt our board and atomization, and I might cover all the ways we can do that in a future late game guide if you guys are interested. A very important thing to keep in mind while scouting in the mid game is that not all comps can adapt their board too much. Some comps are just very set in stone. One example of this is Chemtech Urgot. With that comp, it is very hard to fit in enchanters, and it's very hard to fit in bodyguards. In cases like those, you just have to make your own board stronger, as you can't directly counter the other players through picking different units. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next, and if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got nearly 5,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.